Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we have Kraven the Hunter deep dive, and there are a couple of concerns immediately for a ton of players, as I noticed in the comment section, mainly regarding his damage. And there are definitely also several things I think deep dive did not do very great job emphasizing the usefulness of it. And we're gonna start with the damage. It really does not look great. So here we can see maxed out 5-star, later we can see a 6-star, and the base damage numbers do appear to be quite, well, shit. The bleeds are, tiny, and even though you can crit bleed, even crit bleeds don't look too good. But we need to remember that this is showcase like without the masteries and without the boost and without basically anything else. And historically, there have been a lot of issues with, gauging damage for champions from these deep dives. All respect to Dave and, everybody who works on these deep dives specifically. Wonderful videos teaching about the champions, and I think that they do accomplish many things well. But I also think that that quite often don't showcase the champions from their best side necessarily. I can definitely admit to, for instance, looking at Apocalypse's deep dive and just, thinking the damage is absolutely pathetic. Similarly to Tiger, based on how many hits she took to, deal percentage of damage to, like, Labyrinth of Legends Starlords. And that is because, either there was not necessarily the best rotation used, or just the fact that champions do gain quite significant amount of damage thanks to masteries. On top of that, there are champions like Mr. Negative, which have shit damage. There's no way to describe it. Like, Mr. Negative has very shit base damage, but he has an amazing level 2 damage. If you get a big level 2 off, that's how you finish the fight. The entire fight is effectively from one level 2 to another. If you're looking at like opponent's health bar, you do very little damage in between those big level 2s, but when you do land those, I don't know, 20 degens or whatever, then, opponents just melt away. And there are plenty of champions like that in the game as well. And I think Kraven is going to be fairly similar in that sense, because that level 2 is going to be extremely vital to pause your bleeds, to trap you, well, have your opponent trapped and get the critical bleeds, and then just kind of have your way with them. So when it comes to damage specifically, I don't want to, die on that mountain saying that his damage is going to be bad. Didn't look too great, 100%. At the same time, a ton of other champion damage didn't really look all that great in those deep dives. And as far as I'm concerned, it could be fine. It doesn't look like he's going to be the craziest damage dealer, but later on in some of the gameplay videos, like once you drop your level 2, once you start stacking like your 10 bleeds and they're critical, then opponents kind of start melting away there. Like even here we can see that, those bleeds, and this is unawakened. If he would be awakened, then, the bleeds would be significantly stronger. And then there's the poison that does decent ticks. So I do think that the damage will end up better than those tiny pathetic numbers seem to look like. Because he hardly gets any crit higher than like 5k. It really did not look great. But I'm sure that that will change with like masteries and things. And ultimately, I have a feeling his damage is going to be fine. There is another big thing that, for the life of me, I don't understand why they just glanced over it. I genuinely don't understand why they just simply glance over such an important thing. And let me showcase that. We need to find that Iron Man fight. Where is the Iron Man fight? We're going to get to it in a second. Here we go. And that is how the AI is coded. You see, when opponent is trapped, when AI is trapped, they will do one of two things. They will either be blocking or continuously throw heavy attacks. That's it. Now, with most champions, interrupting heavy attacks actually is not too hard because they have like, longer heavy attacks and you can get a safe opening. Or, if they are just blocking, your Kraven's awakened, you're going to be unblockable and you're going to dash in and get an easy opening. But the important bit there is that they don't do anything else. They don't use special attacks. They don't use anything else. They don't use their basic hits. You don't need to really worry about being intercepted either because you're going to be unstoppable. So that grants you a great deal of control in the fight, which is quite honestly the most exciting thing that this deep dive showcased, because they never previously specified how AI will interact. Also, from Cam's tweet on Twitter, he confirmed that Kabam is saying that that is intended AI behavior. When they become trapped and rooted, they will only heavy attack and only block. And that immediately makes Kraven a lot better champion. Like, a lot better champion. Because that kind of works like as a special lock. They gain power at a reduced rate, but they can't use that special attack. At the same time, you're just going to be wailing at them. And you're going to be stacking your bleeds, you're going to have your poison, and you're going to be dealing like a ton of damage. So that's going to be like a very big burst of damage with that level 2 pretty much guaranteed. So I do like that quite a lot. And I think that in itself inherently has a ton of utility hidden in there. So, after deep dive, I'm actually more excited about this champion than I was before. Granted, his damage holds up. That's kind of like the key aspect there. If his damage holds up, I'm actually quite excited for the champion because of the root mechanic. Obviously, defensively, he's still likely going to be an absolute nightmare by going, unblockable and unstoppable if you get trapped, and then you're going to have to be very, very careful to basically never let Kraven use a level 1, or if he does, then, you need to cross it with a special 1 and stuff like that. But all the same, foregoing his defensive potential, and I'm sure a lot of people will curse at Kraven, I am genuinely excited for him offensively now as well. I really am. Because of the root mechanic, mainly. Root mechanic and the fact that you can maintain true accuracy throughout the entire fight. And the fact that you can bring Venom Pull and bypass miss as well. So to me, it seems like at the moment he's kind of like set in the right trajectory as a champion. And he could potentially be one of those champions that, becomes kind of like a staple for certain things. And I hope it is. So I'm going to avoid being overly critical. I'm going to avoid, jumping on that, his damage looks trash. Yeah, it looks trash. But a lot of other champion damage has looked exceptionally shit in deep dives. And it turns out okay. Of course, it still might be bad. But I definitely will not take the damage that appears in deep dive was kind of like the must there. I'm going to wait and actually see the CCP videos, hopefully acquire him myself, test him out. But yeah, definitely excited. Level 1, true accuracy, no wait, no auto block. And then you can also make sure opponent doesn't use special attack. Kind of awesome. So here we are. That is what I think about Kraven at the moment after I have seen the deep dive footage. Again, everything I obviously say needs to be taken kind of with a grain of salt because there's still a lot more information, videos, evidence, gameplay, whatever else need to be seen. And I do not mean by any stretch of the imagination to like insult Dave. I'm sure that is, what are his guidelines, that he shouldn't be using mastery setups and he shouldn't be doing that and this and that. I'm sure that is like how he's asked to make these videos. But quite often the damage definitely significantly differs in the deep dive to the actual game. And if you don't believe me, go check out Apocalypse's deep damage looked quite woeful. And, you know, similar with Tiger and several other champs. And, you know, sometimes damage is still bad in the game, but sometimes it's actually really good. So I just discard the damage thing. I kind of try to look at the abilities. And the fact that you have precise control over what AI will do, and regardless of what AI does, if your Kraven's awakened, you can dash in, you're going to be unstoppable, unblockable. So even if you get hit by the heavy attack, you're still going to land your hit, you're still going to start your combos in, all that other stuff. Quite curious and quite excited. And he also looks like one of those champions that could be very, very fun with skill class boost, maybe, spamming level 2s. Either way, let me know what you guys think. But I definitely wanted to make this video just to kind of remind people that, you know, the deep dives have not necessarily always been accurate when it comes to damage. And that root mechanic AI control thing that they barely mention is actually really important. Anyhow, let me know what you guys think. Maybe I'm just waffling and you think I'm wrong at everything that comes in my head and his damage is going to be bad. And maybe you're right, but let me know what you think. So yeah. Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the